All right, everybody, welcome to episode 4 of the Future Money Show. Today, we do a deep dive into blockchain technology and Ethereum. It's a really informative podcast that we take a listener from beginner knowledge on blockchain technology and Ethereum to a little bit more advanced of an understanding of what Ethereum is. And then at the end, we compare it to some other projects and blockchain technologies that we like and that we see are popular. But without further ado, it's a really great episode, so enjoy.
This is the Future Money Show.
Okay, well, hopping right into it. When trying to understand Ethereum and these different technologies, it's first important to start with just a basic understanding of what blockchain technology even is. So we can start with trying to explain that. At its most basic and simplest level, blockchain technology is just a ledger and a list of transactions that anyone can view and verify. So you can kind of think of it like every time someone sends let's say on the Bitcoin blockchain, anytime someone sends Bitcoin to anybody, that is a transaction that gets listed on the ledger and anyone can view and verify it. It's public. So it kind of eliminates the need for a middleman. So yeah, in its basic form, that is what blockchain technology is. Now, in the world today, we kind of need a centralized authority to do things. So for example, if we want to count votes, a centralized authority to collect the votes and count them and tally them up. But on a blockchain, it will keep track of all those transactions and it can do that for you. So there's no need for someone to be counting it. It does it within the blockchain. Is there anything else you'd want to add to like what blockchain technology is?
I'm gonna let you take that.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to describe it, at least that people can understand. That in its simplest form, it's just a list of transactions that everyone can see. So some of the benefits of it's global, so stuff can be sent and transactions can be done all across the world really fast and cheaply. Unlike the dollar, for example, if you want to send money to someone in Japan, you're going to have to get it exchanged to won, and you're going to have to go through a bank, which are all going to charge fees, and it's going to be very slow to get there. So it's expensive and slow to use banks and have a middleman. So this kind of eliminates that. Another benefit might be increased privacy. So when you use Bitcoin, you don't need to put all your personal information in there to send, to buy, or to convert, or use it at all. Whereas, if you want to use a bank, you got to put all of your secure information in there. So it's all subject to getting hacked or stolen. And it's a lot more private on a blockchain.
You also put in all the control in the bank's hands, basically, like versus with blockchain. I mean, yes, you can see every transaction that's on the block. However, if you're holding your private keys, you're responsible for your asset, basically.
Yeah, like you actually own your assets. Versus in a bank, right? We give them our money and they hold a small percentage of it and then they lend out the rest. Whereas in crypto and these blockchains, you actually do own what you have, depending on where you buy it. A third benefit might be that it's very open. So there's not a lot of room for manipulation of the transactions because everybody can see them. So it's not saying that there's not money laundering or things like that going around. It's saying that there's no manipulation of the transactions. Like, for example, in banks, if I deposit my money at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock at night, it will not be deposited until the next day, right? They're manipulating the transaction so that they can make a little bit more interest overnight. It's during hours. So that's how they manipulate a transaction to make a little bit of a profit. So if there's no third party, then your money gets deposited instantly and it's yours and they're not manipulating it.
Not saying that there's not manipulation in the market, guys, because there definitely is. He's just talking about from a transaction perspective that you can't really manipulate the transaction itself the way that banks do.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it's a 24-hour decentralized market is kind of the goal of blockchain, which is like you don't need to worry about who's working. It's all run by computers on a blockchain and can be done at any time. A lot of people think the internet is already decentralized. That's a thought that I've heard. When you hear like, oh, we're gonna have a decentralized internet in Web3, my first thought was, what is the internet now? Then it's not decentralized because if you think about it, when you want to go on a website or buy things or create a website, you have to go through a third party. There's no other option. You can go through Google, Amazon, Facebook. Those are all examples of third parties that you can go through to access the internet or to participate in it. If you want to participate in the internet, you got to make a site on, Shopify, or you can, make a social media page. But those are all through third parties. So yeah, so decentralization would be able to connect people like social media does or like websites do, but not through a third party. They'll be able to directly connect to each other, which is pretty interesting. I think it has so many different applications just throughout the world, like so many. For example, if you, for Uber, for example, that's a good example. Uber, if you want to get a ride somewhere, you don't have a car and you want to get a ride, unless you can't call a friend, and you want to pay for it, you have to go through a third party like Uber. You got to get the app and you got to go through the thing and order from them, and they're going to charge a service fee. And they're going to upcharge you a ton so they make a profit and the driver gets a little bit. But in a decentralized system, you would be able to buy that guy's, ideally in a decentralized system, you'd be able to buy that driver's services directly from him. You would not need Uber because you wouldn't need Uber. Now, it's not to say that in the future, all these companies are going to be gone. They'll absolutely figure out ways to
adapt,
to adapt to Web3. But just trying to understand what blockchain technology is, that's kind of the idea, that the seller and buyer can connect directly with each other. Another example might be Dropbox. So Dropbox, you pay for hardware space to store things on. You wouldn't need Dropbox if you could just purchase hardware space from anybody.
True.
And everybody was selling their own extra space, because everybody would do that if you could. If you're not using your space and you could make an extra buck off it, you probably would. And again, there's a lot less of a risk of your personal information getting stolen when it's stored on a blockchain versus, something run by us or banks, for example. So I guess that I feel like that gave a little bit of a description on what blockchain technology is. So we could probably start to explain what specifically Ethereum is.
So Paul just explained to you guys basically what blockchain technology is. So what we're going to do for this episode, and we will do a few episodes like this. I know that we have like the open platform episodes that we did for the first 2 episodes, but we will have episodes that we do deep dives into the major projects in the space, just so you guys get a better understanding of how these things work. I mean, because we've explained what blockchain technology is, you might just be like, okay, yeah, or why do I care? But then if we go and explain what Ethereum is, which is exactly what we're going to do today from A to Z, you'd be like, oh, okay, I kind of want to know how Ethereum works, because there's so many things built on Ethereum's platform. So Paul's going to explain the pros and cons, or the pros of Ethereum. I'll explain the cons, and we're just going to take a deep dive into Ethereum, and hopefully you guys can get some value out we're going to share today.
Yeah, I think this would be cool. So to start, I think we need to explain what Ethereum is. So Ethereum is a blockchain, just like Bitcoin is and many others. It's its own blockchain, and it was brought to life in 2014. It was conceptualized by this dude named Vitalik Buterin. Most people know who he is if you're in the crypto space. He's a funny guy.
Likes cats.
Yeah, he likes cats.
He needs to be fed also. It looks like he doesn't eat, but it's okay.
Yeah, he's so skinny. It's funny. He was actually a World of Warcraft player. This is one of his inspirations for Ethereum. He was a World of Warcraft player, level 60, spent hours every day doing. He was one of the best in the game. And one day, World of Warcraft, the company, changed the items in the games and kind of changed the rules around. And he was then on the bottom, and all the time he had spent getting there was kind of ruined. And he got so mad that somebody who owned this game could just change the rules and he loses everything he worked for. He was so mad that that happened. It's almost like a centralized system that he wanted to create something like Ethereum where no one could change the rules of the game and that everything was fair and decentralized. So it's kind of funny. That was just a little tidbit on the inspiration on that he said. But it went live in 2015. And like I said, it's similar to Bitcoin, but it's a bit different. Yes, they can both be used as per se of like Bitcoin is mostly just a currency, whereas Ethereum is programmable. It's this means that it's more than just payments between parties like Bitcoin would be, or a store of value. It's actually a platform. So it's a marketplace and a platform where different things can be built on top of. So financial services, games, different applications that have lots of different applications. And all of those applications, financial services and games can't steal your data, and they can't, censor you, and they can't control what you do. So that's kind of the difference between Web 2 and 3 also, is that on Ethereum, for example, when you build an app, there's no third party that can, censor you or tell you how to run your thing because it's a decentralized network. So yeah, it's programmable. That means that different applications can be built on it. So there's been lots, there's thousands that have been built on top of Ethereum. Many of them are very, very useful. One, for example, is Uniswap. It's just one that comes to mind. Uniswap allows you to swap between different currencies seamlessly. Is that a good way to describe it?
Yeah, I would say so. For those that probably use BNB network, Binance's network, you guys probably use PancakeSwap to do that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it's similar kind of thing.
Yeah, there's a few different apps that do that, but Uniswap is one that came to mind that's built on top of Ethereum. Another one is
top 100.
Another one is Compound. That's a really big one. That one allows you to stake some of your assets and earn APY on them. But those are just two utilities that applications built on top of Ethereum have been able to do. Now, the applications and the utilities that will apply throughout our whole world are endless. Anything could be built on Ethereum for the most part. And that's why when people say, I just don't see crypto, replacing the dollar, they're kind of missing a lot of what crypto even is, because, it's not a currency. At least Ethereum is not a currency. It's a infrastructure it's supposed to be the infrastructure of Web3 where everybody can interact and build on top of it. It's a platform. Not to say it can't be used as a currency, I guess, but Ethereum should be separated. Like the Ethereum blockchain should be separated from Ether, the coin, because they are different. So yeah, Ethereum's kind of the do-it-yourself platform for these applications, right? So it's open source. Anyone can build on them also. So they aren't trying to limit who can go and build on top of them. Anyone can. And in order to,
and it takes 5 to 10 minutes to build a coin on Ethereum's network. It really doesn't take that long.
It's not that hard.
No, it's very easy to do.
Yeah.
That's why you have so many pump and dumps on Ethereum's network.
Yeah,
but
anyways,
sure.
Yeah. In order to make one of these applications, you just it's not, you can make a coin really easily. If you want to make like a full-on utility-based application that has a lot of utility, then you just have to learn. Ethereum has its own programming language, which the devs learn, and it's called Solidity, I think. Not Solidarity. Okay, so now that you guys understand a little bit about what Ethereum is, about what blockchain technology is, we're going to dig a little deeper and really explain how Ethereum works on the bottom line. So Ethereum works on something called smart contracts. Now, what smart contracts are, they're simply just a program that's stored on the blockchain that runs when certain preconditions are met. So for example, this is just this is an analogy. So in real life, when you pay rent to your landlord, your landlord has to ask for your rent, you collect it, you send it to him. That's how it works. Well, let's just say, for example, that smart contract was built on top of Ethereum and it wasn't just your lease. The computer would know if you had sent your rent. Ethereum would know because it has verified transactions, and it wouldn't let you in the door until you did. There's no landlord that's needed. There's no person that needs to be watching over and make sure you pay.
Pay your rent.
Yeah, so it's basically just think about contracts that are built on blockchain. So therefore it's verified on the blockchain, making it way more secure than, signing a paper with somebody. So in order for everything to be secure and for those transactions and contracts to be verified, there's a lot of computers needed. So on Ethereum, at the current moment, there are thousands of computers all around the world that are constantly running in these transactions and verifying them. And they're rewarded with ETH for doing so. So every time they get to verify a transaction, they were rewarded with ETH. So because there's so many verifiers and so many computers all over, it's not on one system. So if one goes out, the whole thing doesn't go down. Like, for example, if Google's infrastructure went out, a huge portion of the internet would be affected. If one of these computers goes out, it doesn't have a huge effect because there's thousands. So these computers, they're called nodes in the crypto world. So these nodes, they're encouraged to provide accurate information because they're rewarded with ETH for doing so. And there's two main methods called proof of work and proof of stake that blockchains use to ensure that the information and the transaction being validated are actually true and secure. So I was gonna have DQ here explain, the two and how they work.
Paul is basically explaining the mechanics behind Ethereum. So right now, Ethereum runs on something called proof of work. When they switch to Ethereum 2.0, it will change to proof of stake. But right now it runs on a proof of work system. So basically the proof of work system, what it is, to add to each block on the chain, you have something called miners. Miners must compete to solve a difficult puzzle, basically, using their computer's processing power. So Paul kind of highlighted that. In order to add a malicious block, you'd have to have a computer more powerful than 51% of the network. So, that's also a thing about proof of work. Proof of work is subject to a 51% attack or a 50% attack. But the first miner to solve the puzzle is who's given the reward for their work. Paul, you could probably explain that a little bit better.
Yeah, it's kind of like how they basically, when a transaction happens in proof of work, all the computers and miners all around the world all compete to try and do it the fastest, to try and find the code the fastest. And whoever gets it the fastest is rewarded with verifying that transaction. And then they're rewarded with, Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever it is.
Exactly. And we'll explain the cons in a little bit after we explain what the two differences are. So Ethereum 2.0 is switching to proof of stake for some of the cons of proof of work, basically. The major difference between proof of stake and proof of work is there's no competition because the block creator is now chosen by the algorithm based on the user's stake, if that makes sense, basically. So the bigger your stake is, the more higher of a chance that the algorithm will choose you. In order to add the malicious block, you'd have to own 51% of all the cryptocurrency on the network, which realistically not possible because of how big the network is. So there's no reward for making a block. The block creator takes a transaction fee. For me, proof of stake is way better than proof of work. It's more sustainable. It's also more equal, in my opinion. It's also safer because, like I said, hackers would have to have 51% of the network in order to really make a difference. Proof of stake systems are also far more energy efficient than proof of work. The only difference is they're less reliable. So the term that we said earlier, mining, a lot of people probably know what mining is, right? Because you mine Bitcoin, you can mine the Helium tokens, which a lot of people started to do this year, and you can mine Ethereum. The thing about it is they take up a lot of energy. So with a proof of stake system, you're eliminating majority of that mining. Now, what people don't know is majority of mining that was happening was coming out of mining farms in China. So that's also something that people didn't really realize. And with a heavy push for climate change and for us, I guess, being more conscious of using so much energy, proof of stake is a better system for Ethereum, to be honest.
Yeah, it's I think one of the biggest downsides of proof of work is that especially in our current times, is how environmentally not friendly it is. If you think about it, right, if all of these computers all around the world in proof of work are competing to try and get the code the fastest so that they can verify the transaction, it's going to be the fastest and most up-to-date and modern computers who are able to do that, right? So, and they're going to be using the most electricity. So, it's constantly a battle of upgrading your computer so it's faster, so you can beat out all the other systems, which causes a lot of energy uses. So in proof of stake, it would be, if you want to be a validator in Ethereum 2.0, you're going to need to have you're going to need to stake minimum 32 Ethereum, which is a lot of money. That's a lot of money. So, but if you have 32 Ethereum, then you could be a validator, and it's going to be, you'll be chosen kind of based off of how much money you've staked, how much ETH you've staked in general.
So, yeah, like basically, like for instance, I guess, sorry for rambling, but I guess the better way to put it is, so you have miner A, who would stake 30 coins, miner B, who would stake 50, and miner C, who would stake 75 coins. So you got 30, 50, 75. Miner C is most likely who the algorithm is going to choose because they have the bigger stake than miner A and B. That's basically how it would work.
Yeah.
So miner C would collect the transaction fees, i.e. the network fees, basically.
So yeah, that's the difference between proof of work and proof of stake. So yeah, like he said, Ethereum right now, proof of work, they're hoping to upgrade to Ethereum 2.0, in which they'll switch to proof of stake, and they're saying it'll be a lot more environmentally friendly, stuff like that.
Whenever that happens.
Whether that will happen will be a whole nother discussion. But there's a lot of good things about Ethereum as well. I'll just talk a little bit about, there's a lot of blockchains out there, and there's a lot of hype between a lot of them. So I think it would be good to talk about, what does Ethereum have? What's the hype behind it? Because it is the biggest, or one of the second biggest in the platform, or in the crypto world.
It's the altcoin king.
Yeah. And a lot of people are Ethereum maximalists, so we'll see. But
yeah, like the SEC. SEC is Ethereum maximalists. That's a clip. Clip that. That's a clip.
Okay, so one pro when I was researching it that I thought was very interesting was, actually, let's start with this one. This one's better. The main pro for Ethereum is that the ecosystem is already so large. So it was first to market, and all these applications and developers and massively successful and projects are already being built on Ethereum, maybe because it was simply the first to market.
It's too big to fail.
Yeah, so there's just like utility that's being created on the Ethereum network that can't be matched in some of these other ones. Like, for example, there's a lot of hype around Solana. Well, like none of these other blockchains even compare to how much is already built on Ethereum. So that would be, and on top of that, because they already have so much and they're probably not going anywhere, there's a lot of room for Ethereum to grow and innovate.
Are you a maxi?
No, I'm not. But this is definitely a pro. Like there's a lot of room for improvement. Where they have a lot of space and room to grow, whereas some of these other coins who don't already have all these projects built on top of them might not have.
I agree with that. See, all right, I'm just gonna say, guys, so Paul and I have different opinions when it comes to this subject, just a little bit. I mean, we do agree on a lot, but this is a thing where, like, at least with us in our channel, that we can have disagreements and talk about it. He made a good, very, very good point, not to cut him off, but he made a very good point about like some of these networks not being as big as Ethereum. I agree with that point, but a lot of these projects are way better than Ethereum. But I'll give my perspective on that when Paul's done listing all the pros of it.
Yeah, I just got one. I mean, there are cons. There's a lot of cons that I found, but I only found one other big pro, and you might not even think it's that big of a pro, but I'm curious to hear what you think about this. So in a lot of these blockchains and coins, it's important to look at when it first started and launched, what was the split and who could get it, right? Like, was it public, and how much did the software developers and the developers give to themselves? It's really important, because if you see a coin that they launched it and they're talking all this utility and how it's going to change the world, and you see that they kept 80% of their coins in the beginning, and so it just shows you that they have a selfish mindset. And obviously the developers should get some, but it's good to look at how much, right? And a lot of these coins are like that. They're 50%, 60% going to the devs, and then 20% going to their close friends or whatever it is. Where in Ethereum, when it launched, anyone could buy it.
Stick a pin right there, because it's funny that you said that, because Ethereum did something similar as well. Now, I don't know off the top of my head. I'm going to have to find the article.
Yeah.
But Vitalik gave someone, like, I think it was 1 million Ethereum or something like that at $1 each.
Yeah, well, see, in the beginning, it was worth nothing. And it was 80% of it, 80% of it, from what I understand. I don't know if you've heard a different number, but 80% was public sale. So 80% of Ethereum, anyone, you, me, mom, dad, anyone could have bought it, which is huge. And then the other 20%, which is a lot now, if you think, like, if you had 20% of it now, like, that's insane. But then 20% of it was given to devs and probably close friends, like you're talking about.
Yeah, that was insane.
But like, I know other ones, like I should have done more research on the other ones, but most of them that I was seeing were at least around 50%. And that's like really high. So I feel like another pro of ETH is maybe the devs had the right thing in mind in the beginning. Maybe that's why it caught on as much as it did. And
for sure,
not a different one. But I guess that was just one other pro I saw. The first one that I gave, just the ecosystem being so big, is the main pro for Ethereum. Absolutely.
100%.
But yeah, what are some cons that you think about?
Let me say this before I get into the cons.
Yeah,
I agree with you on the fact that Ethereum is a massive, massive, massive project. And there's a lot of good things about Ethereum. The only thing that I'm going to say is the longer they take to switch to the proof of stake system is the more fuel it's going to give to some of these other projects that are competing against it.
For sure.
Now, I don't think they'll overtake Ethereum, but they're going to give it a run for its money, because there are projects that have dethroned Ethereum in every bull run. And that's just a fact. XRP is one of them. XRP is the only coin actually that has reached Ethereum's market cap in 2 previous bull runs. So it has the ability to do it. But now that you have Web3 becoming very big, and you're talking like in your everyday life now, because Web3 was a thing that only people that were in tune with tech were talking about. But now everybody's talking about Web3 and starting to understand what Web3 means. So now you have these projects that are leaving Ethereum's blockchain and now becoming their own. And Ethereum has projects that is on their blockchain right now that are monster projects. Like, I'm not going to go into them, but you have Quant that's on Ethereum's blockchain. Quant is a monster of a project. Look that up. The code is QNT. Look it up and just read their white paper. You have Alliance Block that's on Ethereum's platform. Polymath that's on Ethereum's platform. Just look those projects up. Those projects are insane.
Polymath is cool.
Yeah, for sure. the thing so me and Paul were talking off camera earlier today about a token called ENS. So it's Ethereum name services, right? So for those that follow, like for those that are on Twitter actively and so on and so forth, you might have started seeing that a lot of your influencers or athletes are starting to put their name .eth. So they're purchasing an ETH domain, basically, which is only going to grow the ecosystem, obviously. So you have Nike, which we talked about in previous episodes. They're entering now the metaverse and they're entering the world of crypto. So Nike has their .eth domain. They own that. I think they bought it for 10 years. That's probably like 20 grand right there. You got Shaq's thing is Shaq.eth. Everyone knows who Shaq is. Shaq Diesel. Like almost everything you could think of. You got Facebook had to buy Meta off of someone. I can't remember how much it was that they paid for it, but someone had already made Meta.eth or whatever, so they had to pay for it to get it back. But you have Walmart that has it, Adidas that has it, a bunch of other major companies that you can probably think of have already purchased theirs, but yet they are all going .eth. But when I'm looking at the length that they're buying these domains for, because you can buy them yearly or you can buy them for however long you want. When I see some of these companies that have them for 5 to 10 years, it's just telling you where they think the space is going to go, and they're 10 times smarter than me. Like, and so they have a better inclination as to where the space is going to go. And the fact that they're building it on Ethereum tells me that, okay, Ethereum is here to stay. But the biggest con in the Ethereum space is the gas fees. I can't remember. Yeah, no, they're terrible. I can't remember who it was. They spent $1 million on a gas fee to send something like, I think it was like 10 grand.
Or like you could buy an NFT on Ethereum for that's $500, and you're gonna pay a $500 gas fee sometimes.
Yeah,
like you're just gonna pay literally 100% more.
It's so stupid. Oh, here we go. A crypto exchange spent $24 million on a gas fee for $100,000 transaction.
Yeah. So like,
but then
just so bad.
They got lucky because the miner decided to return it. But think about that. Okay. I want to send 100,000, but I'm spending 24 million to send this 100,000.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Sometimes you'll pay more for like you're saying, whatever you're buying, you'll pay more for the fee than what it actually costs.
Exactly. And I mean, when the network gets congested too, it's ridiculous. But the gas fees is the major killer. Like, to be honest, I don't even need to list any more cons because the gas fees alone, everyone's gonna be like, "Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about, bro. I know what you're talking about."
Yeah, I mean, I like it makes me hesitate to do things on Ethereum. I hesitate to buy even Ethereum coins, or because I'll buy an Ethereum coin and I gotta send it to my my ledger. And that's gonna cost $50. And or if I want to send it from, I have storing Cardano somewhere, or no, not Cardano. If I wanted to send my Uniswap, which I had on my Coinbase wallet, I was gonna move that over to my ledger. It cost me like $75 to just get it there, and it really like makes me hesitate on even buying those coins because it just sucks to just cut away at your profit like that already.
Bro, it's ridiculous. Like, I guess the best example for me, so I was buying VeChain for a long time, like maybe two years ago, 2 years ago, 2019, right? Mm-hmm. I was buying VeChain when VeChain was very, very low. One of my really good friends suggested VeChain to me, like sub 1 penny. But when VeChain first came out, it functioned on Ethereum's blockchain. Right. And then they transitioned to their own. So that was like the best thing. Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. A lot of these major projects that are built on Ethereum will transition over to their own, because there's a coin called XDC as well, which is an ISO coin. They've transitioned over to their own, and they used to be a Ethereum based token as well. But when I used to lose so much money on gas when it came to VeChain, so when they finally switched over to their own blockchain, it made me so happy because I'm not losing anything anymore. Mm-hmm. It just makes life a lot easier. And to be honest, I guess that's why a lot of people are now starting to use Solana. A lot of athletes are using Solana now to release their NFTs on, because the transaction fees are nothing. And it's faster, more efficient. Like it's just way better.
So yeah, I guess this would be a good time to switch into talking about some of the other ones like Solana. From my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if you know the answer, but Solana is almost like a centralized blockchain. Is that true? Like it's like Ethereum has, let's say, thousands of computers all over running and thousands of nodes. So it's truly for now, it's a decentralized system. Solana is kind of, I believe they just kind of have supercomputers that kind of just do it all in a centralized system. I think that's what Solana is, but I know, for example, there are blockchains that are like that. So that would be one difference that some of the other ones have, or how they verify whether it's thousands of computers or one supercomputer or whatever it is.
Okay, so like my favorite, like, all right, so I have a top 5 favorite coins that I have, and one of them in that top 5 is Hedera Hashgraph. I've mentioned them in previous videos. So Hedera, for example, they operate across the Hashgraph consensus algorithm, right? And they're publicly distributed ledger and a governing body designed to support new and existing decentralized applications at a larger scale. So they, in their own way, how can I say this? They have a special way of running their blockchain in comparison to the proof of work system that Ethereum currently runs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some of these different coins have different ways of going about it, not proof of work or proof of stake, is what you're saying. And you can judge those yourself and judge their validity, but that would be important to look into when looking at different blockchains.
So to like continue about Hedera, basically to understand it in a better way, I just had to pull up an article here. Yeah, we do our own research, but I just don't want to give you guys incorrect information.
Yeah.
So to understand the algorithm in a better way, Hashgraph changes the concept of pruning in blockchains and puts forth the concept of weaving in the distributed ledger technology. Hashgraph controls the branches of the blocks by putting them back into the ledger's body, ensuring that nothing goes out of the control across the blockchain. Ethereum is a basic proof of work mechanism that selects a single miner for choosing the next block of the blockchain, which we explained earlier. However, Hashgraph has changed this concept within the Hashgraph consensus algorithm. The project believes in an agreement of the community of nodes running across the Hashgraph over which they shall be allowed to add a transaction across the ledger. This collective approach has been countered with the gossip about gossip and virtual voting mechanism, basically. Now, one of the selling points to me about Hedera is their partnerships. Now, they have some of the biggest partnerships that you can ever think of in the space. They're partnered with IBM. Now, everyone that's in like this kind of world should know who IBM is. Our dad used to work for IBM. Yeah. So like that stuck out to me. They also have partnerships with NASA, Google, and that kind of thing. Now, Hedera runs on a 3rd generation public ledger. So 1st generation would be Bitcoin, 2nd generation would be Ethereum, and 3rd generation is now Hedera. Now, I'm just going to list you a couple things about Hedera that puts it in my eyes ahead of Ethereum. So the transaction speed per second for Hedera is 10,000 TPS versus Ethereum's 12 TPS.
Oh,
it's ridiculous. The average fee of a Bitcoin transaction is around 2250 USD, which we know is not true. It's definitely higher than that. And the average price of an Ethereum transaction fee is $20 US. We also know that's not true.
Yeah.
But the price of a Hedera transaction is 0.001. It's a penny. It's a fraction of a penny.
Jeez.
Is what you pay for a Hedera transaction. So, and then your transaction confirmation. A Bitcoin transaction can take anywhere from 10 minutes to a few hours. Ethereum transaction takes anywhere between 10 to 20 seconds to 5 minutes. But you have Hedera's transactions which take 3 to 5 seconds when finalized, 3 to 5 seconds. And then the biggest thing that I said, because of the way that the world is headed right now, the energy per usage. So Bitcoin to do one Bitcoin transaction is you basically using a month's worth of electricity in your house, to put it in perspective. Ethereum is about an eighth of that, which is still a lot of electricity. It's like you in your room, you're powering your room. Like take this room, for example. I keep my lights on for a whole month. I have the rest of the house with no lights on, but just this room with all the lights on. That's how much energy it uses. And then Hedera uses 0.010% of the energy that Ethereum uses. It's very green, very energy efficient, and it's a lot faster.
Yeah.
So they're also partnered with LG. They're partnered with Boeing. I mean, it's pretty big. Chainlink Labs, like, I mean, Deutsche Bank.
Yeah, it's it's good. Like these are all things that you guys can compare and contrast between blockchains. All the different things he's talking about: transaction speeds, how green it is, who they're partnered with. Do they use proof of stake, proof of work? Do they have their own type of system like Hedera does? All of these things are different ways you can compare and contrast, different blockchains. And, DQs, I haven't done a whole ton of research on Hedera, but it sounds legit. I'm definitely going to learn more about it. I know he's all in on it.
Yeah, I'm all in. I got a bag.
All in Hedera.
All in Hedera. Hedera, I proposed to her a while back, so it's all good. We appreciate you guys lasting with us this long. We know we gave you guys some boring information, but hopefully you guys liked what we were talking about. Like we said, we definitely are going to do some more deep dives into some of these projects, because we would be doing you guys a disservice if we didn't let you know about the information behind these assets that you want to invest in. So with that being said, because we spoke about Ethereum, some of its competitors, we talked about pros and cons and how it works. Paul and I are going to give you guys a couple coins to look into. We're not going to give any description, like deep description into any of them. We're just saying these coins are coins that have strong blockchains and are competitors with Ethereum, or even on Ethereum's blockchain, then you guys should probably take a look into them as well. So Paul, I'll say his and then I'll say mine after.
Sure. Yeah. The first one I'm going to give is Solana. I think everybody's been hearing the word Solana been thrown around in this world and in the crypto world. There's a lot of big NFT projects and just big things like we were talking about. I don't know if it was last podcast or the one before, but Jordan building his platform Air on there. So I think just take a look at Solana. That's a really cool project. And the other one that I've been holding for a long time is Cardano. They have a really unique system and they're going about it a different way than others. So I think that'd be another one that people should take a look at.
100%. For me, I already said Hedera, and I went into them a little bit. Hedera is a must-have in your portfolio. Not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. I just have to say that. But Hedera Hashgraph for sure. HBAR is definitely a project that you want to have in your portfolio. And then, so I said, I proposed to Hedera. My other baby is Ripple. Now, because depending on where you are, XRP is going through this whole SEC lawsuit right now. However, it doesn't change the technology that Ripple offers as a company. They also have the Flare networks integrated to them, so it gives XRP Ethereum-like capabilities. So XRP is a beast of a project. If you don't want to go XRP because of all the scrutiny, Stellar Network is another version of the XRP. Basically, it's almost as good. That's another one to look into as well. They're similar in transaction fees. They're extremely low. Network is extremely fast. But those are other projects that you should probably look into as well.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks for listening. If you made it this far, thank you. Let us know in the comments if you guys want us to do a deep dive into anything else, or if you guys like this, have suggestions, anything like that, let us know. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, follow us on all socials.
Share it with
Yeah.
your mom, your dad, your
Share it with
girlfriend, your
everybody.
boyfriend, your best friend, your dog.
Oh, yeah.
The guy, lady at the coffee shop. Share it with everybody.
Everybody. All right.
Appreciate you guys. Merry Christmas, by the way. Hope everyone's staying safe, having a good time with their families. And yeah, let's go into the new year with some new perspective. New year, new me.
Yeah, new year. All right. See you guys next time.